I want you to picture a warehouse floor at 8 in the morning, forklifts humming, the smell of cardboard and shrink wrap, radios crackling on hips. This is where I work, logistics, for a company that sells apparel. Shirts, jackets, the occasional pair of branded socks. Nothing glamorous. But it runs like clockwork because it has to. Hundreds of packages move through our dock every single day. And when even one of them goes sideways, someone has to untangle it. That someone is usually me. Missed deliveries happen more than people realize. Couriers get addresses crossed. Customers accidentally box up the wrong return and slap our label on it instead of the one meant for some other company 3 suburbs over. It's not malicious. It's just the entropy of a system that moves a few 100,000 parcels a day. Normally, it's a 5-minute fix. You call the person, you laugh about it together, you sort out. That morning, I open a return box expecting to find a jacket. Instead, I found a pair of running shoes. Brand new, still in their original shoe box, tucked inside a return satchel meant for a totally different retailer. Not our stock, not even our category. Someone, somewhere, had grabbed the wrong parcel off their kitchen counter and shipped it to us by mistake. No big deal. I've handled 100 of these. I pulled the customer's number off the shipping label and picked up the phone, already half smiling, already rehearsing the little joke I'd make to put him at ease. Hey, don't stress. This happens all the time. I didn't get the chance to use it. The first red flag, the man who answered, I'll call him Grant, because he had exactly the energy of a man who thinks his name should open doors. Didn't say hello. He said flatly, yeah. I explained the situation warmly, told him we'd received his return, that it looked like it had been mixed up with someone else's parcel, and that we just needed to sort out getting it to the right place. There was a pause. Then, in a tone that I can only describe as a man addressing a vending machine that had eaten his dollar, he said, so ship it to the right address. That's your job, isn't it? I felt that familiar prickle at the back of my neck, the one that shows up right before you have to decide whether to be the bigger person. I explained, still pleasant, that this wasn't actually our error. His parcel had been sent to us by mistake, so the correction wasn't really our responsibility. But I told him we're a warehouse. We get freight rates most people can only dream of. It would cost us next to nothing to just ship it onward and save him hassle. I want you to understand something here. I wanted to help him. That's the truth. 99 times out of 100, that's exactly what happens. Someone apologizes, maybe laughs at themselves a little, and I ship their box onward without a second thought. It makes their day easier. It costs me nothing. Everybody wins. But Grant didn't apologize. Grant scoffed. Actually scoffed audibly, down the phone line, like I'd suggested something offensive. Obviously, you're going to ship it. I'm not driving anywhere for your mistake. My mistake. I sat there for a second, phone pressed to my ear, staring at a shoebox that had nothing to do with me, being told with total confidence that this was somehow my fault to fix on his terms. The turning point. Here's the thing about customer service. Real customer service. The kind you do for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, is that you build up a tolerance. You let a lot slide. Rudeness rolls off you because you've heard every version of it 1,000 times. But every now and then, someone finds a one nerve that's still raw, and they lean on it hard, and something in you quietly recalibrates. That was this call. I kept my voice level. I always do. It's not about losing composure. It's about making a decision, and in that moment, I made one. I'm sorry, I said, but we won't be able to ship this one out. Since it wasn't our error, you'll need to either arrange a courier to collect it or come pick it up yourself. The silence on the other end had a different texture this time. I could almost hear him recalculating, the condescension draining out and something closer to irritation flooding in. Good. Let him feel a fraction of the inconvenience he'd been so eager to hand to me for free. Fine, he snapped. I'll come get it myself. What time do you close? And this is the moment. This is the one decision. The one small hinge that the rest of the story swings on. We close at 5. I told him 4. Why I did it. I want to be honest about the psychology here, because I think it matters. This wasn't rage. I wasn't shaking. I didn't slam the phone down. It was something quieter and, honestly, more satisfying than anger. It was precision. He had spent the entire phone call assuming that my time, my company's freight budget, and my willingness to bend over backwards for him were all just owed to him, a resource to be extracted. He hadn't earned an ounce of the generosity that 99 other customers get from me without even trying. So he wasn't going to get the truth about our closing time, either. He was going to get exactly what he'd earned. The bare legal minimum, delivered with a smile he couldn't see. I pulled up his address out of curiosity while I still had the account open. Clear across the city. Traffic-choked arterial roads the whole way. Best case, 45 minutes each direction if the lights were kind to him. He worked, according to the delivery notes on his original order, a standard 9 to 5, which meant that rushing to beat a 4 o'clock close wasn't a mild inconvenience for him. It was a genuine, undignified scramble. Leaving work early, explaining himself to a manager, sitting in traffic with his jaw tight, watching clock, all to save himself from an outcome that, if he'd just been decent on the phone, would never have existed in the first place, because I would have shipped the box to his door for free. I don't know exactly how Grant's afternoon went. I wasn't standing at his office window, watching him check his watch every 4 minutes. But here's what I do know, because I was at the reception desk when it happened. At 4:52 p.m., a man burst through our front doors, slightly out of breath, tie loosened, looking like he'd sprinted the last 100 meters from the car park. He gave his name at the desk in the clipped, harried voice of someone who had been white-knuckling a steering wheel for the better part of an hour, certain the whole time that he was about to watch a closed door ruin his afternoon. The receptionist glanced at the clock, 4:52, and told him, perfectly pleasantly, that he was fine. We didn't close for another 8 minutes. I watched his face do something complicated. Relief first, then confusion. Then, slowly, the dawning arithmetic of a man realizing he'd sprinted out of work, abandoned a meeting, and driven like a maniac across town for a deadline that had never actually existed the way he'd been told. He collected his shoebox in near silence. No apology for phone call. No acknowledgement of anything, really. Just a man standing very still, working out exactly how thoroughly he'd been outmaneuvered by someone he'd assumed he could talk down to. I never told him the truth. I didn't need to. He'll work it out eventually, probably on some quiet evening month from now, replaying the day and doing the math on how a 4 o'clock close turned into an hour of spare time he didn't need. There was no shouting, no dramatic reveal. Just a man standing at a reception desk at 4:52 p.m., shoebox in hand, slowly realizing that being cruel to the person on the other end of the phone had cost him an afternoon, a sprint across a parking lot, and every ounce of the goodwill that would have delivered that box straight to his front door for free. That's the whole revenge. That's all it ever needed to be. I think about this story sometimes when people talk about karma like it's some cosmic force that swoops in from nowhere. It's usually not. It's smaller than that, and much more human. It's just people quietly deciding how much extra effort you deserve, and rude people rarely realizing, until it's too late, that they've been billing themselves for privilege. If this one gave you a quiet little smile, do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps these stories reach more people. And I want to hear from you in the comments. What's the smallest, quietest revenge you've ever pulled off? Not the dramatic stuff. The small, petty, perfect stuff. Drop it below. And if you want more stories like this one, make sure you're subscribed, because there's plenty more where this came from.